Perhaps you're unsure of how to face what's ahead of you in the coming days because it's perhaps too daunting or overwhelming. Well, I'd like you to meet Moses. He had just been asked to do something crazy. He'd been asked to go to Pharaoh and bring his people out of 400 years of slavery in Egypt. Moses' reaction, understandably, at God's daunting request was, "Who am I, or why me?" Moses said, "Supposing I go and my people ask me, 'Who sent me?' What will I tell them your name is?" In a sense, he was saying, my people are skeptical. They won't trust me or believe me. How will they know it's truly you? Then God said to Moses, "I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you." So when God describes himself as "I am who I am," it's a self-defining statement. God defines who he himself is. He's not a cut and paste God. He decides. I am in and of himself, he says. He is. You could put it this way. God is saying, I have always been who I have always been. I am who I am, and I will be who I will be. In a sense, God is saying, I am constant, I'm consistent, I'm unchangeable in my nature. Mysteriously, God is indescribable, he's uncontainable, he's unfathomable. That kind of God, one with weight and substance, is exactly who Moses needed to know was with him. See, God has no limits. God doesn't get weary. He doesn't give up. And when we think of ourselves and what we face ahead, the question is never, or should never be, who am I? It's always who he is that matters most. And it's this thread from the life of Moses, this encounter at the burning bush, that Jesus pulls on, and it goes right through the Gospels. Listen to these words in John 8:58. Jesus answered, "Before Abraham was born, I am." And as soon as Jesus mentioned the phrase "I am," he was deliberately aligning himself beside the greatest deliverer of Israelite history, Moses, and actually claiming the divinity of God himself. The hostile reaction of the crowd is telling. They immediately got what he said. They saw it as blasphemy, the claim that Jesus had, and they attempted to stone him. Jesus was laying claim to being God himself. Jesus reaffirms his eternal, timeless, absolute essence. He's the one who is all that he claims to be, who has life in himself, the one equal God sent by the Father. After God had got Moses' attention at the burning bush, Jesus arrests our attention again with these great I am statements. They're some of the most outrageous statements ever made, unless, of course, they are true. And they all start with I am the bread of life. I am whatever. And we'll go through them in turn over the coming weeks. Jesus is identifying with the self-defining God of the universe. And it's through his sacrificial death that this life he offers is open to all who bow the knee to him. And just a final point, as you come to the end of John's Gospel, in the arrest of Jesus, it's fascinating because there's this collection of people all there with weapons and torches, obviously expecting a fight or a long search. And suddenly Jesus volunteers himself. He says, I am he. And undoubtedly he's putting his hand up. He's saying, it's me, unsure. But the response he gets suggests way more than that. In verse 6 of John 18, when Jesus said, I am he, the crowd, they drew back and fell to the ground. It's an unusual response for people that have come to arrest someone. Colin Kruse suggests it's clear some revelation of Jesus' power and authority must have occurred to them to make them draw back and fall to the ground. Another author, Hendrickson, adds, at the word of Jesus, the would-be captors lose their footing. Here is Christ, Jesus the King. It's as if shining through this text is a peak of realism. All the authorities in the world in that moment could not arrest the majesty of the King of Kings unless he comes willingly. And as I was reading this myself in the run up to Easter, the poise and mastery of Jesus jumped off the page, and his authenticity of who Jesus is became clearer and clearer. So as you face the weeks ahead, take this Jesus with you, Christ in you. Bring with you all the poise of the majesty of God. Don't say, who am I? But instead ask, who is he that goes with us? the great I am. I'm your host, Matt Tuttleby of Bundoran Bible Reflections. Have a great week.